Once upon a time, in a quiet little village, there was a beautiful garden. It was filled with soft green grass, flowers of every color you can imagine, and happy birds singing their sweet songs all day long. This wonderful garden belonged to a man who was very tall and very strong. Everyone called him the giant. But the giant had been away for many, many years. While he was gone, the children from the village discovered his lovely garden. Every afternoon after school, they would run inside to play. They laughed and chased each other between the trees, and their joyful sounds filled the air. But one day, the giant came back. When he saw the children playing on his grass, his face grew dark and angry. "What are you doing in my garden?" he roared in a loud, grumpy voice. "Go away and don't come back." The children were so frightened they ran out as fast as their little legs could carry them. The giant didn't want anyone in his garden, so he built a huge, high wall all around it and put up a big sign that read, "Trespassers will be punished." After that, the garden fell silent. The birds didn't want to sing if there were no children to listen, and the flowers drooped their heads and closed their petals. A long, cold winter settled over the garden. Snow covered the grass like a white blanket. Frost painted the trees a silvery gray, and a chilly wind howled all day long. Even when spring arrived everywhere else, it was still winter in the giant's garden. The giant sat all alone in his big, cold castle. He couldn't understand it. "Why is it always winter here?" he wondered. "Why won't my spring ever come?" Months and months went by. Then, one morning, the giant woke up to the most wonderful sound. It was a little bird, singing a beautiful, sweet song just outside his window. He jumped out of bed and rushed to look. What he saw made his eyes open wide in amazement. Through a small hole they had found in the wall, the children had crept back into the garden. They were playing happily under the trees, and a magical scene was happening. Everywhere a child stood, the grass turned green, and the flowers bloomed again. The trees, happy to see the children, stretched down their branches to welcome them, and the birds began to sing their joyful tunes. But in the farthest corner of the garden, it was still winter. There, a tiny little boy stood crying. He was too small to reach the branches of the tree, and the tree was still covered in frost, looking very sad. Seeing this, the giant's heart finally melted. "How selfish I have been," he whispered to himself. He tiptoed out of his castle so he wouldn't scare the children. But when they saw him, all of them ran away in fear. All except for the little boy in the corner, whose eyes were so full of tears that he didn't see the giant coming. The giant gently walked up to him, picked him up carefully, and placed him on a branch of the tree. Instantly, the tree burst into beautiful blossoms, and the birds began to sing louder and more beautifully than ever before. The little boy was so happy that he wrapped his arms around the giant's neck and gave him a kiss. Tears of joy filled the giant's eyes. "My garden is alive again," he said softly. He took a great big hammer and knocked down the wall. From that day on, he told all the children that the garden was their home too, and they could play there whenever they wanted. The garden was once again filled with the sound of happy laughter, and the giant was never selfish or lonely again. He would play with the children, and he was always kind and gentle. Years passed, and the giant grew old. Every day, he would sit in his favorite armchair and watch the children play, smiling happily. One winter morning, he saw a marvelous sight. Under a tree in the corner, the very same little boy he had helped long ago was standing there, and the tree was covered in golden blossoms. The giant walked over to him, feeling a warm, wonderful light on his face. The little boy smiled and said softly, "You let me play in your garden. Now it is time for you to come and play in mine." Later that day, when the children came to play, they found the giant resting peacefully under the tree, covered in beautiful white blossoms, with a happy smile on his face. The garden was never cold again, because love and kindness had finally melted the coldest heart. And that's the end of our story. Always remember that a little bit of love and kindness can make the whole world a warmer, brighter place. If you enjoyed this story, please give us a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to tap the bell so you won't miss our next storytime adventure. We'll see you soon!